Welcome back to Nuts on Cars. So here at James Nut Cars, we've been selling a few Teslas recently, more specifically a few Model X's. Now these things are incredible value because they were £100,000 for something like this, and we've got this one for sale for £26,000 now, and it's only 7 years old. However, there are some things to watch out for, which we've learnt along the way. We want to give you a little bit of a heads up of what to look out for when you were looking at buying one of these, and what's it like. Back in 2018, there were 3 models available in the range, so it's pretty simple. You had the 75D, which is the smallest of the batteries. Now, ignore the claimed figures, because they're miles off from any brand. 75D, we've had a few of them. The realistic charge, full charge on that at 100% is about 180, 185 miles. The 100D, which is this one, which is the bigger battery, with more horsepower. So this one's got 417 horsepower. Again, ignoring the claimed figures, we find these are about 260, 270 on full charge. Then there's the performance model, which is 600 horsepower, same battery as this, but just more powerful, and a similar sort of range to the 100D. So let's show you around this one, which is a pretty standard 100D. It's multi-coat red, which is a lovely colour. Again, they're pretty simple, there's not many colours available. This is one of my favourites. This has come with a 20-inch slipstream alloy wheels. We've painted them black, just because I think it looks a bit nicer. A couple we've actually we've wrapped the trims as well, because I think that really sets it off and sharpens the look. But the party piece, and this thing is literally a spaceship on wheels, is things like the doors. So electric front doors, which you can actually close. You jump into the driver's seat, press the brake, and it will shut the door for you, which I'll show you in a bit. The famous Falcon doors, and it just gives you loads of room to get in. These will adjust accordingly, depending on how much space the car's got to this car next to you. You are still a little bit restricted if you do get a bit too close to somebody. This one, if you come over here, I'll show you inside, is the 7-seat model. So a standard, they come with a 5 with the 3 across the middle, sorry. And this one's actually got the 2 seats in the back as well. So huge practicality and loads of room, and everything is very electric. There is also a 6-seater version, which we probably prefer because you get that space in the middle, on the middle row. These doors are pretty special. What else do you get? Cameras everywhere, in the indicators, in the pillars. So when you indicate and things like that, rear view camera, surround camera, you name it, it's got it. Good looking car. I think probably one of the best looking Teslas out the range, as it just looks a bit more substantial, and it is big. It's got some serious road presence. Let's jump inside and have a look what you get in there. One of my favourite bits is how we close the door. So hands free, foot on the brake, and it closes it for you. I will say, build quality wise, as I've mentioned before with Tesla, it's good, but it's not German. Like, even the way the door shut then, it just hasn't got that quite as solid feel as how the Germans do it. It's pretty nice, but it's not quite up to their level. There is leather everywhere, and the likes of like carbon fibre inlays on this one. So it's pretty good, but it's not up there with the best for, what was this, £100,000 when it was new. I feel like that's a little bit of a disappointment in terms of that area. Now what I'm going to do is just talk you through things that you need to look out for. There's a reason, it's not a reason, but these things, like I say, this one's now £26,000 and 62,000 miles. So it's a lot cheaper than it was 7 years ago, brand new. But there is those things that you need to watch out for. So I'm going to talk you through from our experience what we've found and what we look out for now when we're buying one of these. I've got a list. First thing really I think you should look out for when you're going to look at one, because of the sheer weight of these things, the battery and the size of the thing, suspension really can get a bit of a hard time. So if you're driving, when you go for a test drive, just listen out for knocks and bangs from front and rear. And so all of the general suspension components, to be honest, need to be kind of checked to check they're all right. And then air suspension, over time, you can find that they just sag a little bit. Ideally, you need to leave it on a flat surface for over 24 hours to see if that happens, which obviously is hard to do if you're just going to look at a car. Pay special attention to that, because that can get quite expensive. Steering, again, because of the weight of the car, it seems to be a case that I would do like full lock tests, moving around a car park at slow speed, listen out for knocks, clicking, and then, yeah, because again, we've had experience where that has been an issue. And then there's a common fault with the U-joint, where the steering can go heavy. Again, that's not a huge fix, but the steering goes really stiff, and yeah, that will need changing. But again, it's not ridiculous. Aircon and heating can also be an issue. So I would check that it's blowing ice cold and that the heating is blowing nice and warm. We've had a couple of issues with condensers and evaporators. Now those parts are pretty standard stuff in any car, but they're hard to get to and quite expensive to replace on these. So make sure that, and I think just because of electric cars in general, not just Tesla, the aircon system is a lot more complicated because it plays a part in cooling the battery. So we've just found that those sorts of things are more expensive to fix. So do your checks on those bits. Battery wise, I know people go on about battery degradation and things like that. From our experience, they all seem to be there or thereabouts in terms of how much range they've got and things. And I think the battery is actually the least of the worries. It's the bits around it that actually seem to be susceptible to needing some maintenance. The only issues I think we've heard, we've never had any battery issues and with any of the Teslas we've sold, touch wood, is the only things we've heard is that if cars get left on like 0 charge for long periods of time, that can kill the battery and it can not come back to life again. And it's also bad for it to be left on 100% charge for a long period of time. If you're going on holiday for weeks on end, months on end, just leave it trickling on up to 50%. That will keep the battery in a good state of health. But yeah, it seems to me that, I mean, you see these things going on for 500,000 miles and the batteries are still on the original. So do your checks as normal, make sure it's charging, go for a drive, make sure it's not absolutely draining the life out of itself. But as I say, I think it's the other stuff that is more important with that. Another thing to watch out for on these, and this is how they came from factory, is panel gaps, and that comes back to that build quality. I don't think they're up to scratch with like Audi, BMW, Mercedes. It's just how they come from factory. I mean, these things are more complicated with like the doors and stuff. So look out for it with panel gaps in terms of like bodywork as normal, but they're not going to be as perfect as other cars at this sort of price point. But again, you kind of just have to be willing to look past that. But on a more positive side of things, if you can look past all of that stuff, the cost savings on running an electric car as a day-to-day car, with like, if you make the most of an overnight charging low rate with the likes of Octopus, you can charge one of these things for like £6-7 for 260 miles. You're making a huge saving if you do a few miles. You've got no combustion engine, sort of typical servicing, oil, filters, that sort of stuff. And then brakes, because of the regen, these things can do like hundreds of thousands of miles, well, probably like 100,000 miles without needing changing. The only thing to do is actually use the brakes every now and again, because they actually deteriorate in terms of corrosion rather than wear and tear. So just every now and again, from like 70 miles an hour, make sure you use the brakes and not just the regen all the time. And that should give you a bit more longevity with those. So my point, I guess, is the huge savings you can make in the running costs of fuel, servicing, and things like your savings on brakes. They will go through tyres because they're quick and they're heavy. So yeah, that's something that you need to allow for. But you need to, I think my point is that you need to allow all that, some of that saving, not all of it, some of that saving to the likes of the suspension, the steering, the aircon, because those bits will cost you a bit more. So all I'm saying is allocate some of that money to that bit, and as long as you're aware of it and prepare for it, it's not going to hurt as much. But other than that, that's kind of the information I wanted to get across. Me and Dan, who I'll introduce you to a sec, will go for a drive and tell you what it's like on the road. So this is Dan. We work together at James Net Cars, and between us, we've driven quite a bit of nice stuff over the years, having been in the motor trade for quite a long time. So I feel like we've got a good perspective on what's good and what's bad. So you've used a couple of these that we've had in stock.
Yeah.
What's your honest opinion on like running and using a Model X as a family car?
I was just wowed about how all the gadgets on it and just the sheer size of the thing, to be honest. So the one I actually drove was a 6-seater, which I actually prefer.
We both prefer that now.
Yeah, just because so you lose the middle seat and you just have so much more space. So I'm never going to need 7 seats ever. And it was just brilliant. It was, you know, the kids were in the back and there was just loads and loads of space. I did have a bit of an issue. It was a 75D. I found the battery a bit too small for the size of the car. The range you actually get in the 75D is low. It's low, yeah. I think it's perfect for your short trips and stuff. But if you've got a car this big, then I do think a lot of the time you're using it to go on longer trips
With the family.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be stopping. Although the kids will probably make you stop a fair bit, but
yeah.
So it's 180 miles in the 75D. And you went to, is it Windsor?
Yeah, so it was 100 miles each way. But at the same time, you know, we're talking about an 8-year-old car now. So again, in its day, it would have been more than adequate. I just think if I was to get one, I would get the 100D.
Because I think 100%. Worth mentioning as well is A 75D will claim 180 miles on full charge, but anybody who owns one of these will know that realistically that's like 130, 140.
Yeah.
One, you're never going to run it to zero. Two, this, if you're doing motorway miles at 180 miles, isn't going to return 180.
Nope.
They're like 130, 140 in a realistic world, which isn't a huge amount. If you're doing 6,000 to 8,000 miles a year and you've got a set journey of 20 miles each day or something, fine.
Yep.
But big, long family trips, it's probably going to get a bit frustrating, I think, innit? Like you experienced.
Yeah, I think so.
Then you'll need to go for this one.
But I thought it drove really well.
Yeah.
It's a big car, so it does feel quite big.
I'm sure you described it as a bit of a bus.
It is a bit of a bus, yeah. It is a
You're
little
allowed
bit.
to say.
But it's not, I don't think you buy it for the way it drives. I think we both said the Model S
Drives better.
loads better.
Model 3 drives better. They're just more compact, lower to the ground.
Yeah.
These are huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, speed-wise, what's really nice is just getting out of junctions and like getting yourself out of trouble.
Yeah.
It's like a really high performance car for getting off the mark, as you know, with any electric car.
Yeah.
So performance-wise, they are mega in all of them. I don't think you ever feel shortchanged, even in a 75D.
No.
You don't feel like this is slow.
No.
Refinement, how do you think it compares? There's a lot of there's a fair amount of road noise.
Yeah, I think I wasn't expecting it to be that well refined anyway.
Like, it's not going to be S-Class or Range Rover.
Because we all know Tesla, they're a tech company, so they haven't been manufacturing cars for years and years and years, like your Audis and your BMWs and your Mercedes, where they've got it all down. I think so. I wasn't expecting it to be that well refined. I was actually pleasantly surprised. I thought it'd be quite bad.
Okay.
And I think it's fine. I don't.
It's not bad, but it's not wow good, is it?
No.
It's just. But I mean, it's not real leather in these, is it? It's like pleather, isn't it?
It's vegan
for
leather or
environmental
something.
reasons.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of leather on the dash and carbon fibre inlays and stuff. But just stuff creaks a little bit more than you'd expect.
Yeah, you can't see it, but like everything on the dash just kind of
Just got a bit more play in it. Yeah. Like they've even got old Mercedes switchgear in here from like a 2012 E-Class.
And the drive
and the
park
indicators and
all that's
stuff.
the
They've
same.
literally like raided the parts bins from old Mercedes.
Yeah.
Which is probably a better thing to do rather than design it all yourself.
Yeah.
So you probably don't need to worry about those bits. But yeah, it isn't as good as others at this price point for that.
No, I do think it's quite a hard, firm ride.
It is for air suspension.
Yes.
But again, it's probably because of the weight of the thing.
Yeah.
You expect a little bit more from it.
Yeah.
In terms of the ride comfort department. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm not being very nice about it here. I love these things.
Yeah.
Like, and I've spent some real time just using it day to day, and I really enjoy using them.
Yeah.
Just because of how intuitive and how good they are at just doing the daily grind. It's just, we're only kind of slagging it off because in comparison to other £100,000 cars in the build quality department.
But the price they are now,
Yeah.
as in used ones,
Yeah.
what you get for your money, I think is amazing.
Yeah.
And also, had we not sold a few Tesla Model X's, I would have been a bit apprehensive of buying one, just because it's little things like what do you do if something goes wrong? Are you tied to Tesla? Do you have to go to Tesla?
Yeah.
And obviously we've learned that there are
We've learned as
lots
we
of
go,
people
haven't
out
we?
there who
Yeah.
actually are willing to have a go, or there are a lot of experts out there who don't actually work for Tesla, who just sort everything out. So even though the parts probably are more expensive than anything normal, as soon as you know the right people.
So it depends what the issue is as to where you go for it.
Yeah.
Certain things are Tesla based only because of the information they've got and the equipment they've got to sort stuff. There are mobile guys now that are doing call outs to sort a lot of things like we've mentioned with the suspension and steering columns and things like that. So you just need to take a view on it and depending on the problem really. But there's loads more avenues now.
Yeah.
So anyway, in conclusion for us, or for me, I love driving them. And I do think it's a special place to be, and it's a very cool car. But you just need to know the stuff we've mentioned, really, and keep your expectations a little bit lower in some of the departments, and make sure you don't crash it. That was close. You panicked then, didn't you?
Yeah.
The foot went to the brake that you haven't got.
He gave me the finger as well.
Did he?
Yeah.
I deserved it, I think.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, everything you've said there, to be honest. I think, like I said, I was a little bit apprehensive initially. Now we've sold a few, and we kind of know the ins and outs of it a lot more than we did. I would have one of these without question now.
Because they're scary, that's the thing.
Yeah.
They scare you. But if you can get
Massively.
past that, you will love it.
Yeah, exactly that.
So there we have it. Hopefully that's given you an insight into what it's like to look at purchasing one of these, owning one of these, and just an overview really, and a little buyer's guide. So in summary, I love these things, especially at this price point that they're at now. I would highly recommend anybody to go and buy one. Just be really careful and do your thorough checks on all the things we mentioned that could be potentially costly. So hopefully you liked the video. Give us a thumbs up if you did, and we will be back soon for another one.